our Senior Project Director, to discuss the details of the conference presentation from a technical perspective, as well as how it affects the audience. Welcome, Reg.
Thank you, Eva. I'm looking forward to this discussion.
So just to get started, how would you describe the Fiatech audience?
Yeah, it's a very interesting and diverse audience. As all of us know, the capital projects industry is very diverse. The skills and competencies and subject matter expertise is very broad. And so what's interesting about the technology conference and showcase is it's even more broad because it's such a great cross-section of the industry. But it's also, so we have to keep that in mind. And as you know, we have two different conferences. We also have a member meeting where information is much more technical and much more focused on our projects. This is more focused on outreach to industry to provide awareness of new and emerging technologies with respect to impact on improving productivity in our industry.
Thank you. I think that that's a really good description. One of the things that was phenomenal about this year is we received quite a few proposals. In fact, over 65 submittals for just 84 slots were received, and this included the general session slot. What do you think of the proposed presentations we received this year?
We had, over the last, I guess, month, we've had an opportunity to review all the proposals very carefully, and the brief descriptions and titles were good, but they didn't tend to align with what the impact and relevance is to the industry. So we've reworked them, but then having reworked them and reading all the proposals and presentations very carefully, I'm ecstatic about it. I think that the topics are very compelling. Every single one of the presentations I know anyone would understand and definitely want to go to. So I think it's great, and I agree with you, this is the best yet.
Absolutely, and I'm really glad we've had an opportunity to work with the speakers as we have rewritten, reworded, and begun to promote these presentations. As you think back on the past annual conferences, can you highlight the presentation feedback, including strengths, weaknesses of the proposals that we had received in the past, and how this can help us as we go forward?
Yes, there's been a progression, and as you know, Fiatech's been around for over 10 years. And if you participated in any of the annual conferences, you'll see a gradual trending toward being more clear, more concise, and focusing on what the relevance is of the topic. And these sets of presentations fall into line with that. I think one of the pitfalls and challenges that we run into as presenters is that we get so passionate about what we're talking about that we assume everyone has the same level of expertise and understanding of the topic, and we tend to use abbreviations and acronyms, and we tend to shortcut the central issue of why are you bothering to do this and focus more on just the technical details. And I think that that's probably one of the weaknesses that happens when you have very smart, very passionate people talking about topics that they've done a lot of research in. So I think the pitfalls, it relates to making sure you step back a bit from what you're doing and try to appreciate and envision what the relevance is to the industry. And so when you make, going forward, when presentations are made, it's one of those situations where more, you get more with less kind of thing, where you talk about the specific takeaways. And so I'm real excited about that, and I think that everyone needs to just keep in mind that at the end of the day, what you really want to do is establish context for your presentation. And ultimately, your technologies or your systems or whatever you're talking about should effectively raise visibility, predictability, and control for the capital projects industry. And I think if you align your perspective with that as you're generating your slides and making your presentations, I think it would be awesome.
Absolutely, and one of the pieces that we are doing this year is providing a very robust conference app in which this will support the speaker by allowing the presentations to be uploaded in a PDF version. Also, if there are handouts or ebooks or website references, any kind of supporting document, this will be available to each and every one of our presenters so that they will have an opportunity to place these reference documents and materials on the conference app with enough time for the attendees to access them and not have to necessarily spend a great deal of time and effort by adding them into their presentation This will also enable the speakers to be able to focus more time on their content and less time on their reference materials as we go forward. Another great aspect that we are offering this year is we are uploading the details of each one of the presenter and their bio on the website as well as the conference app. So this is another great time-saving opportunity when preparing your presentation, in that we won't have to spend a lot of time in the presenter background. As we move forward, you can move straight into the content of the presentation. So now I'd like to get into the area that is probably the most important component as we go forward preparing for presentations. And would you take a moment, Reg, to introduce this to the 2015 presentation template and then provide your comments?
Sure. One of the problems that we've had in the past, and I neglected to mention that before, is that people are so passionate about their topic that they kind of lose sight of time, and 20 minutes goes by very quickly. So people sort of lay out a smorgasbord of different things that they've been working on and different observations they had or whatever it is, and invariably they eat into the 20 minutes and don't finish. And what happens is they run long, and it consumes time that's being allocated to other people. And so the way this year's set up is that we're going to be much more diligent about holding to the 20-minute time interval. This will allow participants at the conference to be able to select which presentations they want to go to. So they may leave one session and go to the other. So I think it's incredibly important that when you do dry runs and you formulate your presentation, that you keep in mind that you only have 20 minutes, and what are the salient points that you can convey in 20 minutes where someone will understand the nature of your technology and its implication with respect to our industry. So with that in mind, we set up a presentation flow that essentially where you describe what your takeaways and deliverables are going to be provided in your presentations, and then you point to the opportunities that exist in the industry that you're going to be addressing, and then you identify the constraints and barriers related to those opportunities that prevent you from being able to overcome them, and how you went about addressing them and overcoming them, and ideally what benefits you realize. And one of the things that I think in the past we've run a little bit weak on is that we don't talk about reduction to practice with enough emphasis. So it's one thing to have an interesting technology, but it's much more important to have a methodology that allows you to drive that technology or that system or that process into the industry and facilitate adoption. So there's a group of slides in the package that all the presenters will get that tries to help align their perspectives so that they can look at, on the left-hand banner, there's contacts, more discussions, and you can replicate these slides obviously to fill it out. So there's some previous ones that Eva walked through already that each one of these kind of maps into the original outline that you saw initially. And at the end of the presentation, obviously we would like to help people find more information and be able to reach out to you. So in addition to the cover presentation slide where your name and title and company is, in this case, you would have that plus the presentation topic, email address, and links and stuff that you could use to essentially facilitate access to more information. I think the other thing to think about is that if you have a topic that's so complex that you don't feel it can be conveyed properly within 20 minutes, Fiatech has a number of other vehicles to facilitate awareness. And for example, we have a webinar series, so we could conduct a webinar on the topic, and that would help provide you with an hour to be able to go in depth into your topic more completely. So I think that the takeaway here is to keep in mind 20 minutes is important. Keep in mind that you should be very succinct about what your points are and what its relevancy is to the industry.
Absolutely, and this is an area where this would parlay very closely. Your contact information, any additional information would parlay very closely with the conference app. This is going to be a unit that can be continued to be used even after the conference. So if somebody needs to access your information, they will still be able to access the presentations, any of the collateral or resources in the conference app. So as we conclude, what would you say are the top important aspects that we need to take a look at as a checklist for the presentations and preparing to move forward?
Yeah, thanks, Eva. I think, well, a couple of things. We have some notes on the slides that you'll be provided, and hopefully you just take it in a positive vein, but to help you think about things. But I do think that what you should do is try to reduce down your points to the salient ones, as I keep saying, and then conduct peer reviews and peer rehearsals. We don't have a highly structured environment for presentation screening and development. Other groups such as CI, which is our sister, have a much more rigorous and diligent process, and we tend to rely more on our members and our presenters of technology topics to be self-regulating on that. So it's very important once you start synthesizing your presentation to conduct peer reviews and make sure that you're conveying the key points that you want people to be able to remember. If you have too many points, nothing will be remembered. And I guess I didn't point out, but to the extent that you can have images that convey your point on the left-hand side of your slides, that would be good. And also, if you haven't already noticed, these slides are in a 16:9 template, so it's broader. So you can have images on the left and have your bullets on the right. Also, with respect to your bullets, don't make the font too small, and don't read from the slides, but rather look at your bullet points as a means to remind you of the points that you want to talk about when you're making your presentations. So I really would highly recommend you use this template. I think it's a way to orient and be effective and be consistent from one presentation to the other, so it'll help our participants in our conference gain the most awareness and understanding of what's emerging in our industry and how to make their own operations more effective and efficient.
Absolutely. I think those are great reminders. One of the really important components in order to make sure that we have a very efficient presentation upload in our conference app and on the website is to remember the deadline of March the 6th, 2015. This is the first Friday of March, and it will be the deadline of which to submit your presentation, handouts, additional details, ebooks, website, reference materials, so that we will have the opportunity to upload this to the conference app in plenty of time, so that we will use this as a promotional opportunity to all of the attendees, so that they will have the knowledge and the interest to attend the breakout session in which you will be presenting. This is one of the pieces that our attendees have mentioned on continuous feedback in the past events, and that is that they desire to have the breakout session slides, any type of materials or reference documents, so that they can be aware of what will be discussed at that particular breakout session. Reg, I believe that the session leads would be getting in touch with the speakers.
Yeah, for continuity, and also just from the huge number of presentations that were submitted and the huge number that were approved, what we have is different sessions, and there's session leads, and Fiatech staff mans those as well as some other folks. And so we will be reaching out to the presenters in our particular section and working with them to help move it forward. But it's very important that we don't, given the sheer number of presentations ahead of us, that you proactively address this. You develop your slides, you complete them into a form that makes you comfortable and that conveys the point, and you provide it. Because if you think about, I don't know how many presentations we have here, but how many do we have? Is it like 50, or how many presentations have been approved?
We have about 48 presentations which have been approved.
You think about spread across just a small staff, 48 presentations, coordinating the development of it and finalization of that, and everything is monumental. So everything and anything you can do to help drive your presentation forward in the format that's been discussed here would be greatly appreciated. And certainly you've got our email addresses, and you're welcome to contact us if you want to brainstorm and talk about your topics, and we're happy to help you refine it.
Absolutely. And one of the important components is we must remember to rehearse and make sure that the presentation that you submitted to us is the presentation that you submit and actually deliver on the day of the event. It is the deadline of March the 6th is a deadline in which we expect to have the final presentations. So when we are at conference, as Reg mentioned, with such a limited staff, we do not have the opportunity to continue to revise the presentations or upload the information onto the conference app, there will be confusion or possibly delay or other details that would be missed if we had that kind of continuous revision and updating of the details. So please remember that March the 6th is a final deadline, and we would love your assistance with that.
Yeah, I'd like to, one more quick point too is that if you go to the agenda on our website and you look at the topics, hopefully you'll see why we're so excited about it. And I think that if you have other relationships and organizations that you're involved with and you want to encourage them to come to our conference, I think that would be a good thing. I know that there's a couple of our presenters that I've been working with that are already already in the process of bringing other folks with them in order to talk about the topics that they're interested in and the relevancy to our industry.
Absolutely. And don't forget to register online with your speaker code. That is a specific code that is just for you, and make your hotel reservations because this is an amazing property and I know it's going to fill up fast, and we are so excited and much appreciative of your contribution to our event. We know that this is going to be a phenomenal opportunity to teach, learn from each other, network, get to know each other. So save the date and we'll see you soon.
Look forward to seeing you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.